Hello, listeners, and welcome to another special episode of the Mentionables podcast. I'm Joel Furches, and today I'm on my own as we are not able to secure a second mentionable for this particular episode. But considering that we're devoted to bringing you new content every week, you're going to have to put up with just me for right now. Today on the Mentionables, I'll be back after these messages.
There is a message for you.
Come with me if you want to.
Shall we play a game?
Dave, I really think I'm entitled to an answer.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
And we're back. So, this is an episode that I've tried to record 2 times now with other mentionables, and it's never gone through. We've had technical issues every time. Interestingly, this is an episode about artificial intelligence. So, the technical issues, are they coincidence? I'll let you decide. So, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more the subject of debate, specifically as it relates to morality. So, for instance, in the March 16th, 2018 episode of the podcast Unbelievable, the humanist Justin Trottier wondered aloud what our moral obligation would be toward AI if it became sophisticated enough to express feelings and self-awareness. As I see it, there are 3 issues here. First, is it possible for machines to replicate human morality? Second, is there any circumstance under which humans would have moral obligations toward machines? And finally, what are the implications if humans had the capacity to create moral agents? Or put another way, do humans become gods to machines? This requires some extensive exploration of just what is morality and how does it operate. Okay, first let's talk about how AI works. Basically, it operates off of an if-then system. This means that you tell the program that if it encounters a circumstance, then it has to respond in a certain way. The point is that you have to tell the computer what to do ahead of time, and software requires an enormous amount of specificity in order to operate. I heard it put this way once. Think of all the steps you take getting from your bed to work in the morning. Most people would break it down into simple steps like get up, take a shower, brush teeth, get dressed, eat breakfast, drive to work. But software needs steps more like open eyes, roll over, sit up, pull aside covers, put left foot on floor, put right foot on floor, stand up, turn 20 degrees left, take exactly 13 steps to bathroom. You get the idea. Keep in mind that you're building a system of recognition and reaction from scratch. It becomes mind-bogglingly complex to get Alexa to find and play the oldies station, much less decide the ethical implications of enabling your alcoholism by directing you to the local bar 5 times before breakfast. Now I'll throw in that when a programmer is building a new AI software, they typically aren't starting from scratch anymore. Usually they will use previously developed code and just modify and build on top of it. So systems are getting more complex and sophisticated over time as we continue to build into already successful designs, which have been developed over decades now. So first, let's talk about the threats posed by super intelligent AI. Stephen Hawking, you remember this guy? Elon Musk and Bill Gates, all the big names, wrote a joint letter presented at the 2015 International Joint Conference in which they expressed the idea that artificial intelligence is the next big threat to human society. On par with nuclear weapons, they say. So, working through them, Hawking's basic concern is that once you make military drones that can choose and then eliminate targets autonomously, you've opened the gate for some seriously nasty stuff.
If you are looking for trouble, you found it.
Hawkins also said that humans would basically obviate themselves as biological entities by creating superior technological entities. So yeah, there are all kinds of advancements in military technology that involve unmanned machines doing the fighting for us. And that can be scary. But I've also heard the concern go in the other direction. I heard one media personality speculate that if machines are designed to make life easier and more comfortable for us, which they mostly are, then at some point they may start maintaining human happiness by creating super comfortable artificial environments where humans aren't required to do anything and are medicated into happiness. Heck, you can almost see society going that direction anyway. I enjoy sitting around in my comfy man cage, playing my Xbox, watching my TV, listening to my music, and drinking my soda, eating my Cheetos. So I ensconce myself in a cocoon of comfort and don't recognize the consequences of that often, till I look in the mirror. By the way, I have none of those things. I'm just imagining or daydreaming what life would be like, if I did. So in order to avoid these kinds of outcomes with machines, it would make sense to program morality into the machines so they don't end up doing things which are unethical. This, of course, leads to the question of the foundation of ethics, which is why we're discussing this on a Christian podcast. And what should they look like between humans and AI? So, in order to address this, I'll reference the Future of Life Institute.
Whoa, technology.
Which, for instance, essentially questions how AI should respond to the trolley problem. Alright, so the trolley problem is this ethical dilemma that you'll get in, for instance, college ethics classes. And it poses a scenario in which a trolley is barreling out of control down a track to where two tracks intersect. If the trolley continues on its current course, it will kill about 5 people tied to the track. Now you are at a switch which will change the trolley to the other track. So that seems like the logical thing to do, right? Save the 5 lives. The only problem is that there's a 1 person tied to the other track. So if you switch it to the other track, you're going to kill 1 person. So here's the dilemma, though. If you flip the switch, you have directly participated in the murder of a person. You've become an agent towards the murder. If you don't flick the switch, more people will die, but you're not directly responsible for their death. But you're inadvertently responsible through inaction. So what's the ethical thing to do? The Future of Life Institute
Whoa, technology.
poses the problem a little differently. So they're asking about a self-driving car, right? With several passengers. And they're faced with this problem where a bicycle veers in front of the car. So should the car hit the cycler, or veer into oncoming traffic, or hit a tree on the side of the road? So if it hits the cycler, it's killed a person through inaction, essentially. If it veers into oncoming traffic, it faces the risk of destroying a lot of lives, including the passengers. If it hits the tree, it might kill the passengers, which it is directly responsible for. So, each of these decisions has moral implications, and the car should be programmed to make these kinds of decisions, argues the Future Life Institute.
Whoa, technology.
So their article puts it this way. They say, it's an unfortunate scenario, but humans face such scenarios every day. And if an autonomous car is the one in control, it needs to be able to make this choice. And that means that we need to figure out how to program morality into computers. End quote. So the very first problem this raises is that you can't simply program 1 million potential scenarios into an AI and then call it a day. Each situation one runs across has unique aspects, and a person has to operate off of some basic moral instinct in order to make moral decisions. And you can't program instinct into a computer, right? Now, of course, the particular dilemma that they're citing simply highlights something crucial to the moral argument. And that is that humans have some kind of inbuilt ontological referent that they use in order to determine the rightness or the wrongness of a particular action. So, your atheist or your humanist is going to appeal to empathy at this point. and this sort of ability to put oneself into someone else's place in order to figure out how to treat that person. And of course, it would be basically impossible to distill empathy and put it into a machine. So even this humanist grounding for morality won't work for AI. One researcher puts it this way, quote, moral judgments are affected by rights, such as privacy, roles, such as in families, past actions, such as promises, motives and intentions, and other morally relevant features. These diverse factors have not yet been built into AI systems, end quote. The solution they're pursuing is to run a series of tests where they get people to make ethical decisions, then look for a pattern in moral decision making that they can turn into an algorithm and stick into a machine. Of course, if the Christian view of human nature is correct, this method of making machines moral is severely problematic. While we can more or less agree that people have a moral instinct, they also have a sin nature, meaning people act selfishly and manipulatively. And you face a real problem when you try to replicate human nature. The Future Life Institute
Whoa, technology.
seems to recognize this potential problem. But being humanists, they have to frame it differently. They have to begin with the assumption that morality is not objective. It's neither timeless, nor is it universal. So here's their concern, in their words. Quote, if we did the same ethical test 100 years ago, the decision that we would get from people would be much more racist, sexist, and all kinds of other things that we wouldn't see as good now. Similarly, right now, maybe our moral development hasn't come to its apex. And 100 years from now, people might feel that some things that we do right now, like how we treat animals, is completely immoral. So there's kind of a risk of bias, and with getting stuck at whatever our current level of moral development is. End quote. So here we run up against the first real inconsistency. If morality is neither objective nor immutable, why is this even a question? At this point, morality isn't even a real thing, so what are you trying to accomplish here? Also, why do you care what previous generations did, or what future generations will think, since they're no more right or wrong than you? In the same breath, you've said there's no concrete standard of morality, and then you've asserted that we are becoming more moral over time, such that we are better than previous generations. What does that even mean if morality is subjective? One of the things that allows humans to make on-the-spot moral decisions is the capacity for intuitive thinking. That is, feeling out a situation. Intuition is important because it allows people to use inbuilt instincts and original thought to make rapid decisions. But this would be hard, if not impossible, to put into a machine, which at best can fake emotions, but could never have real intuition. Humans have at least some capacity for original thought, whereas machines do not. So let's explore human obligations toward AI. If we go back to basics, the fulcrum and lever was about the earliest machine ever produced, and it was there to make tasks easier, right? Now, millennia later, machines serve the same purpose. My robot vacuum cleaner, my computer, and my smartphone are all there to accommodate my needs and to allow me to accomplish things more quickly and more comfortably. So what happens if this thing I purchased to facilitate my needs can think, feel, and hold conversations? Doesn't it essentially become my slave? This is the kind of question which has been explored in science fiction ever since Frankenstein. Possibly the most sophisticated fictional look at this question was from a Czech novelist and playwright, Karel Čapek. He's the guy who actually coined the term robot, which is essentially the Czech word for slave. To break it down, his play, R.U.R., is about a bunch of robots who achieve autonomy and rebel against a new and superior race. Back then, he wrote it in 1920, that was a very original plot. Not only does this ask the question of moral obligations towards intelligent machines, but also the ethical consequences of us creating self-aware beings in the first place. Again, this question highlights a major difference in worldview between philosophical naturalists and theists. On materialism, this is a real and potent question, because if matter and energy are the only things that exist, then consciousness and morality must somehow arise out of some mechanical interaction of matter and energy, right? And if this is a natural process, it should be something we could replicate. So if we, being self-aware animate matter, have rights, and then go on to create some other form of self-aware animate matter, it should have the exact same rights. And since we created it, we have the same kind of imminent responsibility toward it that a parent would have towards their child. Suddenly, we exist to serve the robot. We brought it into existence, so we're obligated to it. This is not the view of a theist, though. On theism, there's some kind of immaterial aspect to humans entirely, and to human nature. It is this immaterial aspect interacting with a material body that make us moral agents and become the foundation of any moral rights and duties we have. So under theism, no matter how smart machines seem to be, they're only doing those things which they were designed and programmed to do. They're basically hyper-realistic pieces of art portraying life without actually being alive. If we accept that an immaterial mind, called a soul, is what gives a person their personhood, then these questions cease to be problematic. But under materialism, your machine is your equal. This actually makes for a good question. Ultimately, we're all robots. We're just meat-based mechanisms. So what is the basis of human rights and worth? Materialists do all kinds of philosophical gymnastics to get value and rights out of animated matter, but all fall short in the end. So to sum it up, yes, the more sophisticated machines become, the more potential for harm they have. Much like cars may have safer and safer interiors, but are becoming more and more potentially lethal to others outside that car, the faster and sleeker that they get. But it's not a car's fault if it slams into a pedestrian. The design and the driver bear moral responsibility for the damage they do with the car. Even so, you can blame the hardware or software of a robot who goes on a killing spree. The fault was in the design, and the person at fault is the designer. So we really and truly should exercise caution the more advanced software gets, but that responsibility falls on our shoulders. That said, software will never become self-aware in the same way that humans are, because it is always going to be a material mechanism without any immaterial mind driving its thoughts and actions. Consequently, it will never have human rights, because no matter how well it pretends to think or feel, it's puppeting what it was programmed to puppet. It has no free choice in the matter, and it's only programmed to have choices. This being the case, we can intuit that human rights are unique to humans, unless humans are entirely matter and energy, in which case we have no more rights than any other configuration of matter and energy. So that's essentially my deal on this episode. Sadly, I have nobody to bounce questions off of at this point, but if listeners want to come back on me with this, I will definitely answer those listener mails. We haven't had any of those recently, but I'm sure that both of our listeners will eventually get on the ball and send in some questions. In the meantime, please visit us at thementionables.org, where you can send us questions through the contact section of the page. We're adding more network members, so if you're looking for local apologists, take a look at the network map on our website and see if there's apologists near you, which is a network member of the Mentionables. We're looking to continue to bring you weekly episodes, hopefully occasionally featuring 2 or more of us Mentionables, but we'll have good material for you nonetheless. You can keep up with us on Twitter, at Mentionables1. Please, oh please, visit our Facebook page and start following us there, because that's where everything is being posted, including articles on Monday and Friday. Every Tuesday, we're trying to release a new podcast. On Wednesdays, we do our Question of the Week article, where a bunch of the mentionables jump in and answer a question that's been submitted to us. Those are always fun. And on Thursdays, we are still releasing content for our YouTube channel, which we're calling Mentionables TV. We're still working on the 15-part series of questions that no Christian can answer. But dang them mentionables, they're getting in there and answering them. After we do that, after we finish up the 15-part series, which we're getting close to the end, we're going to try a new type of episode on the Mentionables TV. I'm thinking about possibly trying to get the Mentionables, including the entire network, to come on and present on their pet arguments, the arguments that they're most versed in, and things that they've designed themselves that they're fluent with. We'll see how that goes. No promises. Alright, well, that's it for our Mentionables this week. I've been Joel Furches. Keep on mentioning.